After a huge upset win in the Big Ten tournament Friday, Maryland women's basketball could not pull out another win the next day. Men's basketball closed out their regular season with a loss. Men's lacrosse and softball secured victories in overtime thrillers, while women's lacrosse earned their third top 10 win of the season. All of that and more coming up on this edition of The Left Bench.
Overall, great win for us today. Really proud of our team and their effort.
I just never felt like our guys were rattled from that.
Welcome back to The Left Bench, brought to you by Terrapin Sports Central. I'm Alex Gary, joined alongside by Drew Owens. And Drew, I know March just started, but we're already starting to see the madness.
Yeah, Alex, the madness is here, and Maryland women's basketball created that madness in Minneapolis this weekend. Going into the Big Ten tournament, Maryland was slotted at the number 8 seed. After its upset win against top-seeded Ohio State in the quarterfinals, the Terps move on to Nebraska in the semifinals, where their hopes came to a close. The Cornhuskers come out firing shot after shot. Alexis Markowski and Jazz Shelley scored 15 of Nebraska's 25 points in the first quarter. In come Faith Masonis and Cheyenne Sellers, tallying 23 of the Terps' 40 first-half points, shrinking Nebraska's lead from 13 to 7. In the third quarter, Maryland's defense holds Nebraska to shoot only 35.3%, and Bree McDaniel gets a layup to tie the game before she fouls out. Now to the fourth quarter, the Terps down by 1, but the Cornhuskers don't give up and go on an 18-9 run in the last 10 minutes, taking the win 78-68.
Maryland men's basketball traveled up to Happy Valley for its regular season finale and for a last attempt to avoid playing in the first round of the Big Ten tournament. But a familiar face squandered any chance for a Maryland dub. The Terps start out slow with Penn State jumping out to a 7-0 lead, but Tante Scott fights back, scoring the Terps' first 6 points. Terps battle back into this one thanks to them tough scores from Jameer Young. Maryland down 4 at the half. Moving ahead to the second, and it was all Nittany Lions. Ace Baldwin leads Penn State on a 6-0 run and then a 15-2 run. He finishes with 17 points. And to put an exclamation mark on this one, former Terp Quddus Wahab has one of the best games of his career, 19 points and 15 rebounds. For the Terps, Young once again led the way with 16 points, but Jamie Kaiser Jr. shows flashes of the future with 13. Terps fall in Happy Valley 85-69. With the loss, Maryland earns the 12th seed in the Big Ten tournament and will take on Rutgers on Wednesday. This Maryland men's basketball season has not gone to plan, and fans are already thinking about next year.
TSC's Andrew McBride joins us with a look ahead. Andrew?
That's right, guys. There are a lot of question marks surrounding Maryland basketball going into next season, but one sticks out the most. After the season, Terps fans will say goodbye to graduating players Jahari Long, Jordan Geronimo, Dante Scott, and Jameer Young. All but Long were starters throughout the year for Maryland. The biggest losses for head coach Kevin Willard, Young and Scott, accounted for 46% of the Terps scoring this season. So, the big question is, who scores for Maryland next year? The obvious answer is Juju Reese. Reese was second on the team in points per game this season with 14, and he is the only returner for the Terps that averaged more than 7 points per game. Reese played the most minutes he has during his college career with 32, which was also good for second on the team. Reese has seen an increase in usage from season to season, and the expectation is that the trend will continue for the 2024 to 2025 season. The next player's performance next season may make or break the entire year for Maryland, and that is current freshman Deshaun Harris-Smith. Harris-Smith played 29 minutes per game, but only averaged 7 points per game. The lack of scoring is largely contributed to his poor shooting. He shot just under 37% from the field and a whopping 16.5% from 3. Throughout the season, Harris-Smith lacked confidence, as Terps fans noticed how hesitant he was to shoot open threes. But later in the year, Harris-Smith started playing better, especially when he attacked the rim and played downhill. He posted his 2 best games in February, with a season-high 17 points in a win against Iowa and 14 points against Northwestern. In both contests, he shot over 50% from the field. If Harris-Smith can carry the momentum he built into next season, he could find himself in the middle of a breakout year when Maryland needs him the most. Now, the last player is the only real excitement Maryland fans have had as of late. 5-star commit, Derek Queen. Ranked 13th on 24/7 Sports top recruit rankings, Queen is a college coach's dream and could be the savior for Maryland basketball next year. The 6'10", 240-pound center can do it all: rebound, dribble, pass, and is a pure matchup nightmare for any opposing player. Queen is the leading scorer on ESPN's #1 ranked high school team in the country, Montverde Academy, that also features the top recruit in his class, Cooper Flagg. Queen is the highest recruit Maryland has snagged since Diamond Stone in 2015 and will enter College Park next season with high expectations. And guys, there are a lot of questions about how Queen and Reese will fit together on this Maryland team next year, but many don't realize they played together at St. Francis Academy during Queen's freshman year, and the two made it work. They will just have to turn it up a notch at the next level. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Andrew. And yeah, he talked about Deshaun Harris-Smith, but he also didn't, or also another person mentioned is Jamie Kaiser Jr. Both of them were played a pivotal role this year within Maryland's squad.
Yeah, and one of the things that Maryland really lacked was outside shooting. And we didn't even mention, Chance Stevens comes back from injury, and I think a lot of people are excited to see what kind of shooting he brings to the team and what kind of scoring he can really give Maryland.
I agree. Maryland Wrestling hosted the Big Ten Championships for the first time in team history this past weekend. And despite setting program best with a 39-point finish, the Terps still struggled against some of the nation's best wrestlers. Ethan Miller and Jackson Smith and Braxton Brown punched their tickets to the NCAA tournament. Chase Mielnick pulled us off 3 straight consolation upsets, including a mark fall over Iowa's Aiden Riggs for 9th place. Ethan Miller and Jackson Smith each qualified for their respective 3rd place matches for that afternoon's slate, while Brown isn't far behind in his 5th place bout. Session 4 isn't friendly to Maryland. They go 0-3 on their home championship mats. Braxton Brown falls to 6th place at 133. 2 weight classes later, and it's Ethan Miller falling quickly to Penn State's Tyler Kosak, dropping by fall for the first time since early January. And finally, Jackson Smith can't get it done against Silas Allred of Nebraska, losing the 3rd place match. The Terps finished a program best 10th place.
Number 9, Maryland women's lacrosse had a rematch against James Madison, who eliminated them from the NCAA tournament last season. So the Terps had a lot to prove on Sunday, and they weren't falling to the Dukes again. The Dukes win the opening draw and score just 45 seconds into the game, signaling a potential double-digit scoring total like they have done in every other game this season. In the second quarter, Libby May scores 2 goals to tie the game up at the end of the half. This propels Maryland to score 8 of the next 9 goals. That's right, 8 of the next 9. The thirds belong to the Terps. They win all 5 draws in the quarter, and they keep their commanding lead with 8 saves from Emily Sterling in the 4th. Maryland gets the upset win 11-8, picks up its 3rd top 10 win of the season, and sends JMU home with the first loss of the season.
Overall, great win for us today. Really proud of our team and their effort. James Madison is a very tough team. We lost 2 games to them last year by a goal. And this group, actually, our team, our 5th-year seniors have never beaten them. I think we lost to them in 22 here on our field, and then didn't play them in 21 because their Big Ten only was 20. So this was a really good win, a really special win for them. And yeah, there were a lot of ups and downs in the game. I think we had a strong 3rd quarter, that helped us take the lead, pull the lead, and then we're able to hold on to it from there. So overall, great day, a lot of room to improve, but a lot of great things came out of it as well.
Staying with women's lacrosse, if you scroll through its roster online, you might notice that one player's hometown stands out from the rest of the team.
Our Nathan Schwartz has more.
Most Maryland women's lacrosse players come from the East Coast, but not Jalen Rozga. Her journey to Maryland started in St. Paul, Minnesota.
I remember actually in some of my grad parties, there were some people asking me if Maryland lacrosse was Division I.
Minnesota is far from the lacrosse hotbed that Maryland is, and playing there is filled with obstacle
There's snow for 9 months out of the year.
after obstacle.
I was gone every single weekend, traveling for lacrosse, just trying to get better with my team, in hotel rooms, right? You're on the road constantly. But it was all worth it because now I'm here on the best place on earth.
Not only did Rozga come halfway across the country to play for Maryland, but she's the first player from Minnesota to ever play for this program, a true testament to her work ethic.
I think Jay coming to us from a different background just really opens our players' eyes to lacrosse in different areas, but she hasn't missed a beat. She's come in, she's involved in everything. She's a great leader for us on the team.
A leader both on and off the field, Rozga also helps run lacrosse clinics for young girls from her home state, something she didn't have as a kid.
I want to give every single girl that's in a small town or in a non-hotbed area the chance and the belief that they can do it. They can go to any school that they want to. They will find a home.
Having paved her own path, Rozga is now doing what she loves at her second home. For Terrapin Sports Central, I'm Nathan Schwartz.
And Drew, as a former lacrosse player myself from New Jersey, I know those late February, early March practices in the cold are just absolutely brutal. I couldn't even imagine what they look like in Minnesota. Just brutal.
Yeah, me neither. I'm from Maryland myself, and I can't imagine practicing in -2, -4 degree weather. But being from Minnesota, she does bring a new perspective to the state, basically, of lacrosse.
Yeah, exactly. Now don't go anywhere, because when we come back, we'll take a look at Maryland men's lacrosse overtime thriller against Brown.
And we'll also see which baseball and softball players are primed to be the difference makers this season. Stay with us.
16 million children struggling with hunger in America. That's 1 in 5 daughters, sons, neighbors, and classmates who don't know where their next meal is coming from. Yet billions of pounds of good food go to waste every year. It's time we do something about it. Feeding America is a nationwide network of food banks that helps provide meals to millions of kids and families in need. Visit feedingamerica.org to help them feed even more. Together, we can solve hunger. Together, we're feeding America.
There's so many rewards in life. You coming into our home was one of the greatest rewards we could have ever had.
You know, it took 20 years and I got my third child who was 17 at the time.
It's so cool to watch the adult that you've become, and you really have done as much for us as you think we've done for you.
Welcome back to The Left Bench, brought to you by Terrapin Sports Central. I'm Drew Owens alongside Alex Geary. And Alex, I feel like every week Maryland men's lacrosse is battling in another overtime thriller.
Yeah, I mean, in their 6 games, 3 of them have been decided in overtime. Lucky for the Terps, they have all been overtime wins. Number 7 Maryland men's lacrosse was on the ropes against Brown in Saturday, and we had to go to overtime to decide a victor. Brown comes ready to play in the pouring rain. Wells Bly and Marcus Wareheim get things going for an early Brown lead. Jack Horse finally gets Maryland on the board, but the Bears keep on coming, never giving up on the lead. The Bears were 0-4 going into this one and now lead the number 7 team in the country 8-6 at halftime. But the Bears poked the wrong bear, and his name is Braden Urksa. Urksa goes for 5 goals in the second half and gives Maryland its first lead of the game in the 4th. But Brown doesn't go away, tying things up with 44 seconds to go. We're going to sudden death overtime. Terps win the faceoff, then it's Daniel Maltz with a dagger, giving Maryland the 14-13 dub. Here's head coach John Tillman after the win.
Again, things weren't always easy. We told the guys, like, they're going to mix in man, they're going to mix in zone and keep you off balance, and I just never felt like our guys were rattled from that. You know, they just seemed comfortable doing whatever we needed to do.
Maryland baseball headed to Charlotte for a 3-game series against the 49ers after a loss on Friday and a huge redemption win in the first game of the doubleheader yesterday. The Dirty Terps were able to close out the series with a win. To start things off, freshman pitcher Joey McManus begins his day with 3 scoreless innings, including 2 strikeouts. Then Braden Martin puts the Terps up on the board, hitting a ground ball to right field to send Charlie Glennon home. In the 4th, Terps errors allowed Charlotte to run 2 in, taking the lead. But Maryland doesn't let up. In the top of the 6th, Kevin Keister and Elijah Lambros crack an RBI single to help Maryland regain the lead. After pitching the game with 4 scoreless innings, Logan Barrier closes out the game for the Terps, and they take this one 3-2 and get the series sweep.
The Dirty Terps are a few weeks into their season, and they've picked up right where they left off in 2023, thanks to the returners, but also some newcomers.
Daniel Stein is in Studio B with more on some of Maryland's shining stars. Daniel?
Yeah, guys. Last time I was in front of camera, I talked about how Maryland's incoming transfers provided plenty of hope for the upcoming season. And today, I'd like to highlight some newcomers who have really made an impact so far this season. Our first new Terp who's been lighting it up is freshman third baseman Chris Hakopian. Originally committed to Wake Forest, Hakopian switched his commitment to play with his brother Eddie, and in his first 16 games with Maryland, he's been nothing short of spectacular. Hakopian is batting .317 with 15 RBIs and already has 4 homers. His first home run of the season traveled 412 feet and was hit 102 miles per hour. Not bad for a guy who was in high school 6 months ago. He also has the second most walks of anyone on the team and has started in every game he's played in, providing stability at a premium position on the diamond. Another Terp who's been exceeding expectations so far is Logan Coster, who has settled into the Saturday spot in Maryland's rotation. Coster came over from George Washington this year, and in his first 4 starts, he's produced a 4-0 record with a .245 ERA. He may not have super high strikeout numbers like other big-name starting pitchers in the Big Ten, but he's been just as effective. Coster is in top 10 among Big Ten pitchers in ERA, opposing batting average, innings pitched, and his 4 wins are tied for the conference lead. Coster, along with Kenny Littman, have formed a deadly duo at the top of the rotation, but sustained success is key down the stretch. If Coster can continue to pitch deep into games, he could take a lot of pressure off a Maryland pitching staff, which was a point of concern coming into the year. Another freshman who's been making his mark is Braden Martin. Like Chris Hakopian, Martin was previously committed before deciding on Maryland. The Maryland native has started in 13 of the team's 16 games so far, providing positional versatility playing left and right field. But the key statistic for Martin has been his .404 on base percentage. It's not the most glamorous stat out there, but if you look into what factors into OBP, we begin to see that his hitting approach is so far beyond his years. Martin sports around a 20% walk rate. To put that number in context, Sam Honar's walk rate is around 17%, and Martin is almost 5 years younger than Honar. He's also only struck out 7 times this season, and among Maryland players who've played in at least 10 games, Martin's low strikeout numbers are comparable to team veterans like Eddie Hakopian and Kevin Keister. This may be a small sample size, but it's still impressive for someone his age. And for our final star newcomer, we have to talk about the pride of Wilmette, Illinois, Alex Calarco, a transfer from Northwestern who has added an influx of power to the lineup. Calarco is top 5 on the team in total bases, slugging percentage, RBIs, and most notably, is tied for the team lead with 4 home runs on the season. This season against Georgia Southern, he hit a ball 111 miles per hour for a home run, and it traveled 430 feet. That's far by major league standards. May I remind you that this is a guy who's still recovering from an injury. Head coach Matt Swope said that he was shocked that Calarco didn't hit double-digit home runs at Northwestern, and just a few weeks in, it's easy to see why he said that. And guys, while the many departures from last year's squad may sting, the Dirty Terps have certainly found some new talent to possibly make another run at a Big Ten title. Back to you guys.
And yeah, what Daniel said, Chris Hakopian and Braden Martin, the fact that 2 freshmen are making it in the starting lineup this early in the season is pretty impressive.
And we're, really getting these new stars is exactly what Matt Swope needs to not only establish himself, but reestablish that Maryland is that dominant force in the Big Ten. And speaking of stars, Maryland Gymnastic kept on shining on Sunday against Towson to keep their win streak alive. Starting on the bars, Rhea LeBlanc sets a new career high, scoring a 9.925. Her score leading all others during the meet. Moving on to the vault, Josephine Cogler matches her career high, but the big winner on vault is Natalie Martin, leading all competitors with a 9.875. And onto the floor, the Terps collectively come to play, scoring a 49.2 as a team. LeBlanc and Martin both score a 9.875 to close this one out. This one came down to the wire, but the Terps walk away with another win, 196.725 to 196.625.
After a 3-1 win for Boston College in the first game of the Friday doubleheader, the Terps came back swinging to clinch the Game 2 win. After 4 scoreless innings, Maryland takes charge of its territory when senior Michaela Jones gives the Terps the first lead of the game in the bottom of the 5th. The Eagles responded with an RBI single up the middle, sending 2 runners home and putting BC up by 1. The Terps aren't ready to give up yet when Jada McFarland hits an RBI triple to center field, sending the game into extra innings. To close it out, Freshman Delaney Reeves steps up to the plate and doubles to left center, giving Jones the chance to score the final run to seal the win 3-2. Here's head coach Lauren Karn after this one.
So we really have been talking about being resilient today and just continuing to fight back, not giving up, not allowing even a 2-strike at bat give into that. So I think we did a good job of just staying the course throughout the game, working to have good at-bats, quality at-bats, and make good contact, and then it ultimately paid off.
The Lauren Karn era of Maryland softball is in full effect, but it's not just her that people are watching.
Benji Kaufman is in Studio B to tell us more of who to have our eyes out on this season. Benji?
Yeah, guys, we know the returners, but the newcomers are who Maryland fans should be keeping their eyes on. Off with the freshman from Frederick, Maryland, Delaney Reef. She was the Maryland Gatorade Softball Player of the Year in 2023. Reef is proud that she has been able to represent her hometown, and she's been doing it well to begin her college career, throwing out a number of batters caught stealing. The freshman knocked 3 hits in her first game against San Diego and blasted this grand slam against Loyola Marymount. Now let's take a look in the circle and talk about a pitcher that was dealing on the road, Bree Godfrey. With star pitcher Courtney Weich off to a slow start, Godfrey has picked up the slack. The sophomore transfer from Marshall only allowed 23 hits in 34 innings pitched and was 3-1 in her starts. During the Terps' long road trip, Godfrey led the team in WHIP and ERA with just 2.4 runs allowed on average. Now back to the offensive side of the ball to talk about a new outfielder from the West Coast, Maisie McFarland. The grad transfer is off to a hot start in her new red and gold threads. McFarland opted out of the 2023 season, but rust has not been an issue for the California native. In 46 at-bats during the road trip, McFarland led the Terps with a .326 batting average. McFarland has also been flashing some leather this season, covering lots of ground with unreal catches in the outfield. And finally, let's talk about a newcomer that has arguably been shining the brightest on this year's Maryland lineup, Diamond Williams. The new first baseman for the Terps has put the Big Ten on notice, letting everyone know how loud her bat is. Over the road trip, Williams matched her home run total from her junior year at Mercer with 5 goners. The Georgia native had more games with multiple hits than games with 0 hits during the trip. And this moonshot home run against Oregon was number 4 on our top 5 plays last week. I have a feeling we'll be seeing her name on more of those this season. Now, returning Terps like Jada McFarland and Courtney Weich will certainly have to carry the operation, but it's these newcomers that will have to make some noise for Maryland to compete in the Big Ten. Back to you guys.
Exactly, Benji. And just a lot of the newcomers, it's great to see that they're coming alive because this is such a senior and upperclassman heavy team. It's great to see that some of these newcomers are really coming to light early in the season.
Exactly. And stay right here because when we come back, we'll talk about a softball player who's not just making plays on the softball field.
We'll also crown our Terp of the Week, Pro Terp, and Top 5 plays. Don't go anywhere.
I tell my son, I love you every single day. I love you. Now, my dad has never said that to me. Not because he doesn't love me, but because culturally it wasn't comfortable for him. Now that he's a grandfather, he says, I love you to my son every time he sees him. My advice to all the fathers out there, forget the cultural restrictions. They grow up way too fast for you to waste even a single precious moment.
I think I finally found.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, Mason.
Hey, Mason.
Got a new house. It's looking pretty cool so far. A place that I call home.
I'm teaching Louise how to cook some lasagna.
It only takes a spark to make a fire start.
Thank you.
Study, please.
I think I finally found a place to make my own. A place that I call home. This place that I call home.
Welcome back to the Left Bench, brought to you by Terrapin Sports Central. And Drew, we talked about how some newcomers on Maryland softball are really breaking out. But one sophomore is actually breaking out in a completely different sport.
That's right. Shortstop Sammy Woods dominates at the plate and in the field, but she also dominates at another field.
TSC's Andrew McBride has more.
Number 26, Sammy.
Sammy Woods appeared in every Maryland softball game as a freshman and is a no-doubt star for the Terps. But Woods' talents are not limited to softball. Her cannon of an arm and unmatched field vision also helps her out on the football field.
It actually all started when my mom introduced me to this competition called Punt, Pass, and Kick when I was 9. I just ended up kind of winning every one and eventually winning nationals, and I was like, whoa, this is fun.
Then, the all-girls football team for her softball squad was created. But when you put girls in a football field who've never played before, there's a lot of work to be done.
These were all softball players that were really good, really athletic for 9 years old. You put them on a football field, and you realize they don't know the first thing about the rules of the game.
But it didn't take long for Woods and her team to start shining. They beat an all-boys team in just their 4th game of the season. Fast forward to her senior year, Woods was invited to the Elite 11 quarterback camp in Vegas, filled with the best quarterbacks in the nation.
I was like, oh, this is kind of cool how they're, letting girls come in, which should have been done earlier, but it's awesome that I get to participate in it anyways.
Being a star athlete in 2 sports has its perks, but also negatives.
Like this weekend, we're going to Oregon to play top 25 schools, and this weekend's actually the USA trials for flag football, which I have to miss, which, that's the worst part about it.
Woods' father said if she was born later, it could have been only football.
And my only regret is that, I wish it would have happened 4 years earlier for her. Because if it did, I honestly don't know if she'd be playing softball. I think she would have made the change because she loves the sport that much.
Woods loves the sport so much that her dream is to play it in the Olympics.
Official that flag football for both women and men's are going to be in the 2028 Olympics. So obviously I'm missing the trials this weekend, but after softball is done, I'll be able to make the trials and hopefully get on the team and play in the Olympics.
Regardless of which sport she chooses to stick with, Woods will shine. For Terrapin Sports Central, I'm Andrew McBride.
I think it's amazing that all on top of softball training and school, she has time for another extracurricular activity and one that she loves.
Exactly, and it's great to see what she'll be doing later if she eventually makes it to the Olympics.
Yeah. All right, Alex, I think it's time to crown our Terp of the Week. And after another overtime thriller at CQ, we had to go with someone who contributed tremendously to that win, Daniel Maltz. On Saturday, Maltz reported a season-high numbers in goals, points, and shot percentages. He also snatched a first-half hat trick to help get the Terps on the board. After not making any noise in the second half, Braden Erska found him uncovered in OT. He made the game-winning goal to help secure the 14-13 victory and avoid a huge upset. Congrats to Daniel on being crowned our Terp of the Week.
This week's Pro Terp defied all of the odds en route to bring your country its first world champion ever. That's why our Pro Terp has to go to track and field star Thea Lafond. Lafond competed in the World Athletics Indoor Championship this weekend in Glasgow, where she competed in the triple jump. She set a personal and world best of 15.01 meters, securing her the gold. The Dominican native became the first female from the Caribbean island to win a gold medal, and the country's first ever global champion. Lafond was a stellar track and field athlete here at Maryland, still holding multiple top 5 all-time marks since graduating in 2015. Congrats to Thea for being crowned our Pro Terp.
All right, Alex, it's time. It's top 5 time. Get us rolling.
Let's get started. And in at number 5, we have Libby May jumping and scoring. Look at Chrissy Thomas finding her right in the perfect spot. Jumps, goes airborne, and puts it in the back of the net.
And number 4, we have another Ethan Miller takedown. This happened at the Big Ten Champs this weekend. Let's see it again. This and his other performances this weekend secured him an NCAA championship spot.
And in at number 3, another OT goal for the Maryland Terps. Daniel Maltz puts it in the back of the net. Erksa finds him in just the right place, passes it perfect. What a shot, what a rip, right past Brown, and that's an OT goal for the Terps.
Number 2, we have a Logan Barrier strikeout to finish out the doubleheader series on Sunday. Let's see it again, and they take this one against Charlotte.
And in at number 1, Emily Sterling coming up clutch once again. She just knows cat-like reflexes. She puts her stick right where she needs to go. And, Drew, I feel like I said this last time I was on. Emily Sterling just is a human highlight reel. She's just capable of so many amazing plays.
Yeah, she's making plays almost every week for the Terps. Well, that'll do it for this edition of The Left Bench. Jonas Evans and Nathan Schwartz will be here at the desk this Thursday to go all in on Maryland men's basketball.
Be sure to keep up with all of Terrapin Sports Central coverage on X, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and online at terrapinsportscentral.com.
We'll see you next time.